Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to another video. So this is part of the money series that I've been talking about, and I wanted to do a video on the debt that I had compared to the debt that I have now. So we're going to go through each of these. I'm going to tell you exactly what it was, how I paid it off, and we're just gonna get into this. So I do have this is my I have a couple of different debt binders, but they contain like different things. So I have this one, and I have a budget planner, and then I have like another binder somewhere. But anyway, I keep this here as a reminder of where I have been and how far I have come. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. So this is the first car I ever had. It was a 2007 Kia Spectra, and that was the amount that I financed it for. With this car, what happened was I, as far as paying it off, when I was in college, I got this car in 2000, either 2009 or 2010. And the following year, my mom was able to apply for the Hazelwood for my brother and I to have free tuition. So she's in the military, and so she was able to do that. And what happened was when my university finally got that money, they reimbursed me for the student loan that had already paid for that particular year. So I used the rest of that money to pay off this car, right? So guess what happened when I paid off the car? The car like had issues. It died on me in the middle of 45. I live in Houston. If you know 45, that's not a great place for your car to die on you. I took it to different mechanics. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with it. So I ended up having to trade it in for this car. And I was so mad because it was paid off. I think the car payment was like 200 something. My mom was a co-signer. So that also is what brought the interest rate down. So my payment wasn't that much. The second car I had was a Kia Sorento. It was an SUV. It was very old. The windshield leaked when it rained. Um, the AC went out. The gas, I could barely put gas in the car because um, if I put gas in there, I had to like kind of take the pump and like just squirt it in there, because if I let it just fill up, it would start squirting the gas back out. I don't know if there's something in my gas tank, but the thing is, I didn't have the money to take it to a mechanic because at this time, when I had the first car, I was still working on campus because I was still in school. So I was working at the testing center, then I was working at the library. The second car I got was after I had already graduated college, and I was working for a nonprofit. I think I was making like between $500 and $1,000 per month. Per month. So I was living with my mom at the time. So you can imagine, like, okay, you know, I'm not making that much money. I'm living at home, so I didn't have any bills to pay. But I did have to pay this car note. So this car, like I said, all the issues I had to get rid of it. So what happened is in 2017 is when I found out that I was pregnant with my son. My mom was like, "No, you need a car that has AC that's going to work properly, that's going to function." That is when we get to car number three, which is the car that I have now. And I bought that car brand new. It was a 2017 Nissan Rogue, and I paid this car off when I resigned from teaching. So when I resigned, I took out my 403B. I think I had like $10,000 and some change left on it to pay. And my 403B was just above the amount I needed. So I had a little bit left over. So when I took that out, I went ahead and paid off my car. And it's been paid off for 3 years. Praise the Most High. Okay? Because that car note was $530 each month. I don't remember how much the second car note was, but $530 a month, that's a lot. I was teaching at the time, so it wasn't, that big of a deal. But when I resigned from teaching, I wasn't making nearly enough money to pay for this car note and have my son at daycare. And even now, I'm not making nearly as much money as I was making while teaching. So yes, paid off. These USAA, terrible, highly, highly do not recommend to ever get a personal loan, to ever finance a car, to ever get a credit card through USAA. Don't even get your car insurance through USAA, right? So USAA, if you don't know, that's for like military families. So my mom's in the military, and my brother and I already have bank accounts with USAA. So therefore, we could get like personal loans, car loans, home finance loans, credit cards, what have you, whatever, right? And so these interest rates were astronomical. Now, I can't tell you what the initial balance was for these personal loans, but all three of them went to collections. um, Most everything on this list went to collections before I ended up being able to pay it off because I wasn't making the money. I wasn't. And I believe these credit cards I got while I was teaching, and I still was not making enough money because when I had my son, he had to go to daycare, and daycare is expensive. Even though I was getting child support only paid for half of daycare for the month. I still had to buy other things that I needed for my son, as well as pay the other half of daycare. So I took out these personal loans to help, with that. Plus, I was paying this car note. I was paying rent because I was living on my own at that time. So it was, y'all, it was expensive. It was expensive, and a teacher's salary is nothing, right? It is absolutely nothing. So they all went to collections, and what I did was I settled the debts. I settled on an amount. I was like, hey, I can give you half of this, and I can pay it all right now. And so that's what happened. I had the money to pay half, or I didn't have the money to pay half, but I could pay half and make installments on the half that I was paying, right? So let's take this number, for example, 2515. Cut that in half, and then they would give me like a time frame of how long I would have to pay it off, and that would give me like a monthly amount to pay it off. So that's what happened with these three. These credit cards, same thing, went to collections. Um, I don't know if I closed them before I paid them off because this is the exact amount that was on the credit card. I don't think it went over, but it still ended up going to collections because I wasn't making payments, right? This credit card, that's $5,604. The limit on this was $5,000. That's $604. That is interest, right? And so this was an American Express card. So you can imagine it was high. It was very high, right? So um, that ended up going to collections, and I just made payments on it. Y'all, like, I was making some very poor financial decisions, and it wasn't just that I wasn't making enough money. It was I was making enough money, but I wasn't stewarding it like I should have been, right? Because gives us a job. He gives us a job, and he gives us our salary. Like whatever we're making, that's how much he's paying us, right? And so, um, this Capital One credit card, I believe the limit was $1,100. I can't quite remember. That ended up going to collections. This Amazon credit card was $370. I don't think that went to collections. It's just that I kept maxing it out and then had a very hard time paying it off to where I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to pay this off and be done. I'm just going to pay it off and be done and close it out. This Care credit card, I vaguely remember signing up for this. And the thing that happened was I happened to look at my credit report and I saw this on there. I was like, what is this? And why is this amount so high? This is not how much I owe. This was the credit limit. So Care credit is like for health, anything health related, right? And I think this is when I went to the dentist and I was going to get braces or something. I can't quite remember, but I never did, and so therefore I never used it. So I called them. I was like, "Hey, what is this for?" They told me. I was like, "Do I owe anything?" They were like, "No. Go ahead and close that out." Okay, go ahead and close it out because I don't need it. Right? I do not need it. And then we have a medical bill. Malachi had some kind of I don't know, some kind of virus or something. And we had to stay at Texas Children's for like 3 days. And the bill was $900. And so, something I learned at this time, I was like very heavily into the finance community. And so, I had heard someone say that if you call the institution wherever the service was done, if you call them and tell them that you want to pay in full, they will give you a 20% discount. And that's why I only ended up paying $780. Now, at that time, I was blessed to actually have the money. I didn't use a credit card. I didn't use a personal loan because all these things were gone by then. I actually had the money. I just didn't want to pay $900, right? At this point that I had this bill, I was making better financial decisions. So I was able to pay that $780, right? PayPal credit maxed out. This is above whatever the limit was. I don't remember. All I know is like I was not very good with credit cards. I was not. I'm not going to say I'm perfect now. I'm much better because I pay off my credit card every month and I haven't had, any issues, but I was not very good with any credit cards, with paying back personal. I am not good with paying back money. You know what? I rebuke that. I actually am very good about paying back money. It's just that where it counts, right? So, like a car, I'm going to pay the car note, right? I've never had a late car payment because late car payment means repossession. Never had a late car payment, right? Never been late on paying my rent, my light bill, um, all those type of things that keep things on or keeps things in my possession, right? So this settled this debt and went to collections. And we'll talk about in a minute like how I was able to pay these things off, the different ways that I paid them off. Student loans, it was much higher than this balance here. So this loan I actually paid off through my job. So I was making monthly payments. So I was like, okay, let me just start with this. I was doing like the snowball method and I paid that off. And then I think COVID hit and I stopped paying them. So the amount is lower than this. I'll show y'all in a minute when we get into my budget planner, but it is lower than this. Um, and I actually had more than this to pay. But what happened is when I was working at that nonprofit, when I had these two cars, is once you finished that year, they gave you a stipend of like 5,600 some odd dollars, and you can either use that money to go back to school or like pay towards your tuition, or you can use it towards your student loan. I was not going back to school, so I was like, student loan. So this was actually 5,600 some odd dollars higher than what this amount is right here, right? The emergency room. This ended up going to collections too. I had to go to the emergency room because I was sick. I don't know what I had though. I think it may have been the flu. This was, I think, no, this was after COVID because I had my son. So this was after COVID. Um, I don't. I think it was the flu that I had, but it wasn't COVID. So I had a medical bill. Did not have great insurance. So that's why that is extremely high for going to the emergency room. Another PayPal credit. What did I use this for? I used this to fund a trip to Tulum. It was a single mom's trip, and I used it to fund the trip and my flight, as well as spending money. And I had every intention of paying it back because at the time I did have the funds to pay it back, but I was in a very different mindset when it came back to paying back money. It was more so like, hey, I have this extra money. And that was my mindset. With the credit cards and the personal loans, I have this extra money. No, Monique, you do not have extra money. That is money you have to pay back. That is not free money. That is not money that belongs to you. That is money that you have to pay back. You don't have a choice. You have to pay that money back. And so I used that to fund a trip. And I think I'm trying to remember how much the limit was because it was much lower than this. It wasn't 2750. Um, and what ended up happening is with this credit card, it went to collections, and the people who it went to collections for, what is it? Is it Rosh? No. Yes, Rostrum Associates or something like that. But it went to a different collections agency and then it was sold to another one. And so what happened was the people who had this debt that sold it to who I was paying the money to, they tried to sue me and I got like the paper. I was served papers. But the thing is, they were doing it fraudulently and illegally. And so there was a case and everything. And they had been sued numerous times. And so one day I went in to pay my monthly amount because I did not have them do an automatic payment. Y'all are not about to have my banking information. Absolutely not. So I went in to pay it and it showed me the money that I had, right? It's like went back to the balance that I had before. I'm just like, wait a minute, what happened? So I called them and they told me that they could not take any more payments. I said, please break that down to me. So they were saying that the people who they bought the debt from, they were not taking any more payments, and that I would receive a check in the mail for all the payments I had made, which was like 2,000 some odd dollars, right? Because I hadn't finished paying them. I'm like, I need that in writing because I'm trying to pay this, and I don't want to end up getting served papers again, and I'm sitting here trying to pay you all. So, needless to say, I did end up getting a check in the mail, a refund check for all the money I had paid them, and the lawsuit was thrown out, all of that. So I didn't end up having to pay any more of it. So this kind of just disappeared on its own. So technically, I didn't pay this debt back, but PayPal got their money because they sold the debt, right? Integrated nutrition. This is when I was trying to become a certified nutritionist and I realized that I couldn't keep up with the payments, one. And two, I didn't really have the time to study like I thought I did. So I ended up dropping out and I still had to pay them whatever money I still owed them that was left. This Capital One credit card, um, I believe this is the one I still no, this is not the one I still have. This is a different one. I do have a Capital One credit card that I didn't put on here only because it is one that I use monthly and I pay it off monthly. So that's not on here. Uh I wouldn't consider that a debt only because I pay it off monthly, right? So that ended up going to collections. I'm pretty sure the credit limit on this was like $500. All these that went to collections, I settled the debt, right? Vivint, the alarm system, do not recommend because here's what happened with them. So they, I had an alarm system and then I wasn't going to use them anymore, right? And so I told them, I was like, hey, I can send y'all's equipment back because I'm not going to use it anymore. They were like, no, we will not accept the equipment back, but you still have to pay us for the equipment. And I was like, no, I want to send the equipment back because I'm not using it. They refused to take the equipment back. So it used to be on my credit report. Somehow it was removed. I don't know what happened. I didn't ask any questions, but I did not pay them back. I don't plan to because that is not my fault. The equipment, I offered them many times to give the equipment back. It was still brand new. It was not scratched. You know, I had used it for like a year and it was great. But I'm like, okay, because you have to pay for the equipment like in your monthly payments. And I'm just like, well, I'm done using it. I want to send it back because I'm not going to use it anymore. They were like, oh, you can just throw it away, but you still have to pay. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. I'm not paying that back because I offered to give you all's equipment back. Anyway, that was on my credit report. It is not on there anymore. And I have not received any notices from them or anything like that. So that's why that says zero. This medical debt, um, here's something that I found out. So this is coming from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And it says CFPB finalizes rule to remove medical bills from credit reports. So it says today, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalized a rule that will remove an estimated $49 billion in medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. The CFB's action will ban the inclusion of medical bills on credit reports used by lenders and prohibit lenders from using medical information in their lending decisions because that violates HIPAA. It does. The rule will increase privacy protections and prevent debt collectors from using the credit reporting system to coerce people to pay bills they don't owe. The CFPB has found that medical debts provide little predictive value to lenders about borrowers' ability to repay other debts, and consumers frequently report receiving inaccurate bills or being asked to pay bills that should have been covered by insurance or financial assistance. So here's something else I learned too. When you receive a medical bill that is astronomically high and you're trying to figure out why is it so high, call the doctor's office or whoever or the billing department and tell them to send you an itemized bill of the services that were done on you, that were done for you. And watch that bill gets much smaller. It gets much, much smaller because they try to have you paying for things that you shouldn't be paying for. So that's what I did with them. And I was like, no, I want an itemized list of this procedure because it should not have been this amount of money, right? We're not going to talk about what the procedure was, but currently, I did, put the paper here to block out personal information, account number, all that. So this is the medical bill for Kelsey Sibo that was sold to our Frost Arnett, and this was the amount. So it was a little cheaper than this 3,722, and this is how much I paid so far in February, and that's how much I have left. And my student loans in May, I paid almost $400, and this is the current balance. So these are the two debts that I have, and like I say, I have a credit card, but again, I use that responsibly. So that's why it's not on here because I use it every month and I pay it off every month, which has been making my credit score skyrocket, right? So, how did I pay off these debts if I wasn't making enough money? Side hustles. So, Shipt is one. I don't think they have that here anymore. Shipt was a grocery delivery service for HEB. I live in Texas, so we have like HEB, but now HEB uses Favor as their delivery service when you order groceries. But I was delivering people's groceries. I did Lyft, so like Uber. Um, I did Postmates. I was working multiple jobs since 2013, maybe 2012. So around 2012, 2013 until roughly 2020 when I got this job, 2023. I was working 7 days a week, working multiple jobs. Even while I was teaching, I was working multiple jobs 7 days a week, y'all. I was exhausted. This is the first time that I only have one job, right? Now I do Uber Eats and DoorDash on the side, like here and there, just to put extra money into my savings account. I do have a high yield savings account, highly recommend, and I put money in there. But a lot of those side hustles is how I got to pay off these, even when these things went to collections. Those side hustles really helped me to make payments toward these things because I could not pay them with my regular job. Again, I was not making the best financial decisions. I was like eating out, going out with friends, doing everything, spending money that I should not have been spending money that I did not have. I was like, oh, this is free money. This is free money. I'm not worried about having to pay this back. I have the money right now. No, I had to get out of that mindset or I was going to stay in debt forever. And my credit score suffered, right? Because I had to have a cosigner for all three of these cars. I did. Now, I don't think I have to have a cosigner because my credit score has gone up and I want to keep it that way. But yeah, so something that really helps is having a budget planner. I got this budget planner from the Family Thrift Center. It was like $1 and something, $1 or two. And so I just added the tabs for each month. And so we are in June. And this is really what it looks like. So monthly budget. I don't use this. I don't really use the budgeting column. I just put the date that it's due, and I just write down all of my bills. These are not all bills, but like groceries, fast food, how much I'm budgeting, how much I paid on my credit card. I'm sorry for the airplanes. I live by the airport. um, some other things, because I do have like the expense tracker and all that, and then how much I make from work. So yeah, how much I make in interest on my and my high yield savings account, all those different things. So that is about it. I do want to do a few more budgeting videos and talk about finances as far as like using a planner and why you should use one. But if you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And be blessed and be a good steward over your finances.